It was also the most annoying year of my whole entire life, and it's because of this. It's because of this George Floyd. All right, welcome back to our couch. Today we're going to tackle what it's like to really be black in America, or to be really black in America. You know what I mean? We're going to deal with some of the misconceptions, some of the stereotypes that are true. You know what I mean? Some of the stuff seems true, but it's actually kind of false. Blowing smoke up your black butt. So for starters,
okay.
What kind of experiences have you had with racism? And specifically, I mean racism from white people. Specifically that.
I had a homeless lady call me the N-word once.
Okay, what else?
So, okay, when I was on dance team, I was on the dance team through all of high school and some of college. I was the only brown girl. I was the only black girl. And so that was, I wouldn't exactly call it racist, but it was I was kind of the odd person out. So whenever we'd be dressing uniformly, they didn't want me to wear tights that match my skin tone. They want me to wear tights that match their skin tone, or they want me to do my hair that looks just like theirs, I wouldn't exactly call it racist. I would call it when you're the first in any environment,
Or the only, because you weren't the first, but you were the only in that year.
I was the only in that, yeah. But it's whenever you're kind of the super minority, I mean, a lot of times the people in charge make decisions for the group, and it's not targeting you, but you kind of have to sort of fit in.
Right, yeah. So I've been called N-word by someone driving by in a car. One time I was walking with my brothers and cousins. Yeah. Someone just yelled out the car, N-word. Yeah. With the hard R. What else? Oh, someone told me, I was in college, right? This girl who I was in college with, we also went to high school together. She told me, you're not black because you are smart and you don't talk ghetto. And those are the main...
She's joking, though.
I mean, yes and no. It was a joke. Yeah. I mean, obviously I am black. It was oh, you're not really black because you don't talk ghetto and you're smart. It wasn't she was trying to make it funny. It didn't seem like it was just yeah, kind of jokingly, but I'm you're not one of them. You're not one of, you know what I mean? It was kind of that tonality.
But okay, I got a question for you.
What?
Not to get too much off track, but it's if she had been any other, if she had been Asian, if she had been black, and she said that, I mean, I feel it would be a totally different statement, even though it's the same words.
We're not into that yet.
Okay.
That's why I asked you racism for white people.
Okay. We're not, okay. Let me not jump ahead.
We haven't gotten to racism from black people, or just anyone's not white yet. We haven't gotten to that.
Okay. This is coming. A can of worms.
There's
coming. So much.
We're starting with what they like to tell us.
Okay.
White people are oh so very racist.
Okay.
That's what we're starting with. And those are my main two experiences. But I've also been told, not directly, but just in general, if I don't vote for a certain person, you ain't black. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You've been told on Facebook that
we're plants.
We're plants.
And that, yeah.
Because it's very clear on Facebook we weren't going to vote for said person. Right. You know what I mean? So we're no longer black. What else? I mean, there's a ton of things in the media we can point out, but in personal day-to-day life,
from a white person to us, what
that's mainly it. Okay, so those basically, that's all that stands out for me. My whole 30-year life of racist experience with white people. But there was one incident at a school. It was our grade school, middle school, all combined in one, right? It was this Lutheran school. And the teacher told my mom that I didn't know little black boys could be so smart. It wasn't about me, because I was kind of bad in middle school. It was about my older brother, who's now a surgeon. Very smart guy. But that was what the teacher said to my mom. So that was kind of woo. Oh my goodness. This is what teachers at this school think.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They think, oh, black kids are not smart. Funny, because then, in college, oh, you're not black because you're smart and you don't talk ghetto.
Yeah.
But do they think that from nowhere? Is that based on their life experience, or is it from the media? I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of all of the above. I was fitting the stereotype at that time. I was being pretty bad in middle school. My grades were not that great. But that's another experience. And then our 5th grade teacher told a kid, get your cotton-picking hands off me. Okay, that's
so weird.
But see, those two weren't about me, but I did.
How old was she? She had to be 112.
What?
The one that was get your cotton picking.
Oh, that was a guy.
Oh.
He was pretty old. He's probably passed away by now.
Yeah, he had to be Because, I mean, it's like he probably never witnessed a black person picking cotton. Like,
Right.
It's weird to think.
Yes. But that's it for my whole life. Those are the main things that stand out.
Yeah.
2 experiences which were not like me directly, and then 2 that were. Other than that, I mean, there could be small instances. Maybe I got bad service because I was black. I don't know. I usually don't jump to that conclusion. Right.
Yeah.
Most things that are negative events that happen, I can't definitively say it was racism or anything like that. There's been nothing crazy, big, detrimental, life-threatening, anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
And you've had like... See, it's just weird because as a black person, I think a lot of times you hear more about racism than you experience it. But hearing so much will lead you to believe that every little thing you experience is racist.
Right, and you hear more about racism from white people or just other people in general that are not black than you experience from those people.
Right.
But you can experience racism from black people as well.
Yeah, you can.
But for racism to be this whole huge big deal, it's odd that we haven't had a ton of racial encounters.
It is.
Because, I mean, they make it sound like you're being hunted on the street. Like, every day they're hunting us. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous the way it's blown up in the media and the way the celebrities talk about it and all those kind of things. But it's like, just talk to some black people about their personal experience. That's why I ask people, okay, what experiences have you had with the racism? And then you see, like, people's eyes go in the back of their head. They're like, oh, let me pull one up. Like, it's like a struggle. And it's not that racism doesn't exist, but it doesn't seem to be as big of a problem as they're making it out in the media.
Right. And they can't, I feel like a lot of times, like a lot of the experiences I've had where people say, oh, that's racism. Like, you should have pointed that out. You should have pointed that. It's more like just the consequence of being, like, you know, I've had a group of white friends before where I'm the only black girl. And so I had a friend that she used to joke around and call me like Shaquita and stuff like that. But I wouldn't call that like racism because her heart was not like in a hateful sort of like limiting you to, like, it wasn't in that. It was more like, you know, kids get picked on, like the biggest kid out of the group might get picked on for being, you know, overweight or like the, you know what I mean?
I mean, picture if the roles were reversed.
Right.
A group of all black friends and one white friend.
They definitely would tease her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're going to get called names and stuff too.
Yeah, and then in that situation, she might start wearing cornrows or something like that to like fit in more. So it's like naturally, if you take a black girl and she's in a group of, you know, mostly white people, she might start wearing her hair straight. I mean, that's just like human nature.
If you being called Shaquita jokingly amongst friends is racist, then what is Karen?
Exactly.
The whole stereotype. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so we pretty much hashed out our experiences with racism from white people. Just our personal experience. This is not saying that other people have not had racial experiences. We're not trying to pretend racism doesn't exist. It's just it's not as big a deal as the media makes it out to be.
Right.
From our experiences. That's what we've observed. But, okay, from black people, what kind of racism have you experienced?
Well, I mean, it's weird because it's quite similar.
But like, subtle.
It's subtle, but it's basically within black culture, there's a whole like light skin, dark skin.
Oh my goodness, that reminds me of something you had in college, an experience you had in college.
Yeah, like when we were in college, there was this girl I had been friends with all through high school, and I was friends with her till college. I didn't think we weren't friends, and she joined like an all-black sorority, and they were gonna have a panel of like light skin versus dark skin like opinions so that we could see eye to eye type thing, right? Little did I know I was the only light-skinned person that she planned to bring to this panel, and so they were just about to grill me. It was all dark-skinned girls in sorority, so they were just about to grill me and like basically put all their like, you know, pain and suffering onto me as a representative of the light-skinned race. You know what I mean? It was
Wait, did you go?
No.
Oh, you didn't go?
No.
Oh, I thought you went. Yeah, so I mean, you do have the whole light skin, dark skin war almost. It's like, are you team dark skin, team light skin? Yeah. Oh, light skin's in this year. Yeah. Oh, dark skin's in. Like, there's this whole.
And then red bone versus yellow bone. Like, basically, are you light enough? Like, are you light skinned but you have nappy hair or not?
Right.
And then if you're a black man but you get with a light skinned black woman, then, well, you didn't really get a real black woman.
And you don't know what it's like to be with a black woman. She's not really black.
Yeah. Like, all my life, there's been, like, you know, I never really fit in with the black girls. I got teased, made fun of. They used to yank my hair. They used to, like, they threw one time I had some chapstick I really liked. This girl threw it in the freaking trash can at lunch. I will never forget that. It was like some Skittles chapstick.
So they can yank your hair, and that's okay. But if someone who's not black says, "Ooh, can I touch your hair?" That's racist. That's a microaggression.
Right. Or if I go and touch her hair. Like if I just go touch some hair that's slightly coarser than mine. It's the same microaggression as if a white girl did.
I mean, but you're not going to hear about that. Like, there's not going to be articles about light-skinned girls touching dark-skinned girls' hair.
Yeah.
But there will be articles about how asking a black woman to touch her hair is offensive.
Right.
And I had an afro in high school. People asked me to touch my hair all the time, and I was cool with it.
Yeah.
Go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really weird. It's really weird because it's like, I feel like culturally we've developed this like hypersensitivity around, you know, the almighty black person. Like you can't touch, you can't acknowledge. There's like, you're not supposed to acknowledge any difference at all that you notice. You're not supposed to give attention to anything at all unless it's like socially accepted, which, you know what I mean?
Right. Unless your media overlords tell you can.
Yeah. Create like a fence around black people.
Right, so dating a light-skinned person is like, okay, you're dating someone who's not black enough. What about when you're dating someone who's like my complexion?
Oh, man.
And you're light-skinned.
Jeez.
What kind of stuff did you hear?
Oh, my gosh. My granny used to say, she's dead now, you know, bless her, but she said, she was like, don't you like the little light-skinned boys? You like them dark ones, huh? I definitely also felt like my other family members were just not that pleased that I was with a dark-skinned black man that had braids.
Oh, yeah, they have cornrows.
You did. He had braids. He used to wear the big baggy outfits, you know, like baggy jogging suits and stuff. From a single mom house, you know what I mean?
Do-rags.
Yeah,
whole
so
nine.
yeah, do-rag. But I mean, he was smart. He was never like ghetto or anything like that. But
oh yeah, I had straight A's in high school.
yeah, like you were helping me with homework and stuff.
Right.
So I think they just judged on appearances. But it was weird. It was like we weren't a black couple. Like we literally, I did not feel, I mean, until we got a little older, I didn't really feel like we were acknowledged as a black couple within black circles.
Right.
Like it didn't matter until, you know, somebody's getting married to a white girl or something. And then it's like, oh, Lex is one of us.
Right.
You know?
Right. But I mean, but that's not like everybody. Not everyone's like that, but just like a lot, maybe most.
It's probably similar to
like my mom was never like that.
Right, no.
She never treated you any differently, but my mom also is closer to your color.
Right, right. And I imagine your families are kind of like this too, where, you know, there's all these sort of stereotypes and stuff, and it's like maybe there's a few people that fit it, but most people are kind of chill.
Or most people that fit it.
Or
and
most
a few people are chill, but there's always, you know, it's not
most
going to be 100%.
Most people that fit it, and you don't mess with those most people.
Because I would say from what we've talked about so far,
a lot of people fit that.
A lot.
But then the weirdest thing to me.
But like my parents don't.
The weirdest.
I would say your parents don't so far.
Yeah, so far. Well,
with the colorism.
With the colorism, no. But they were light. They were light. I feel like
they were both light skinned. But did they ever say anything negative to you about me being darker than you?
No, I think my dad was pleased. Like I think he was super happy about that.
Yeah, with the colorism, like I haven't experienced that from my parents, but other family members, friends, yes.
But my mom did kind of hint at, but also I don't know if it had to do with colorism or just more like media influence type stuff. You know what I mean? Because like my mom had always, she just hinted at basically whatever I think she's been attracted to. Like, wouldn't you be into this or that? I don't know if that was color.
Yeah, your mom's like, oh, I just always imagine you marrying an Italian guy. So dang, I guess, yeah, that's pretty...
Right?
That's after we were already married. Like,
she's always kind of said that. But then again...
Always.
Maybe she did, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because, I mean, the thing is, my dad...
It's almost like expressing her disapproval.
In a way, yeah.
You know?
But also,
it was like subtle.
But also, I always wondered, like, maybe she was attracted to that and she didn't, like, feel like the freedom in her life to explore that. So she's, like, trying to push that on me. Or maybe she thought that. I
mean, let a white person say that. You know, they met us and then they were like, oh, you know, I just picture you more like marrying an Italian guy or something. Not a guy like Brad. We'd be like, racist. Well, not us. But a lot of people like, racist. You know what I mean? So.
But then, to be fair, a lot of people that have met me, when they know that I'm married, they think you're a white guy. Like, they just assume that I'm married to a white guy.
I mean, I can't really blame them. I mean, you know, I just based on like my life experience, I can't really be mad at someone for thinking that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everything's called racist modern day, but it's like when you really break it down to like what they're feeling, they're basically saying, oh, a lot of black people are ghetto. You're not very ghetto. I don't take you to be in, those types of neighborhoods, environments, circles, like that type of music. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like they're basically saying that.
If they were placing bets, and those people, women who were more similar to you, and they were putting money every time, I bet they married a white person, they might win out more times than not.
Yeah, because I mean...
just based on what I've seen. So it's like, I can't be mad at someone for thinking that. Is it racist or whatever? I don't know.
Right. That's the problem with, like, the word racist is, like, people use it for stuff like that.
Right. What other kind of racism have you experienced growing up? Like, from black people? We got the whole colorism thing.
Well, I mean, okay, to be fair, I think black people are equally racist as any other race. Like, maybe even more. Because I think a lot of times, like, racism to me correlates with how small your world is and how little you've experienced of the world. Like how unfamiliar you are with other cultures, stuff like that,
So I feel like racism is just a big umbrella term, and people just hurl it around for everything that they think is, oh, that's not true about this race. Oh, you're racist. No, a lot of what people call racism is just cultural ignorance.
Right.
And so it's like, black people are just as racist as other people, but a lot of what people would say is racism. To me, it's not racism.
Right.
But I don't think people in general are that racist.
No, I don't think so.
But yes, a lot of people are ignorant of cultures they have not had a lot of exposure to. So we pretty much hashed out the whole colorism thing. Like, that's definitely a large part of the black experience, especially if you're black and you deal with people who are a different color black than you, then you have to deal with the whole colorism bullcrap. It gets pretty annoying, but it is what it is. But another form of racism that like I've experienced, like within the black community or whatever you want to call it, is like an inferiority complex.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? Like growing up, you get told things like, oh, you have to work twice as hard to get half as much. And then you get, like, everything you're told is from, like, not everything, I'm being kind of dramatic, but a lot of what you're told is from, like, an inferior racial point of view.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's so true, yeah. Yeah.
Like, the man, you have the whole the man. The man means the white guy who rules over you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I work for the man, you gotta do this for the man, yeah. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're taught that there's basically some white supremacist overlord, and that is just the white community is, like, over you.
Right.
There's, like, a metaphorical white guy over everything you do, and he has to give you permission to succeed. Yeah. Now, I found that to be not true. Now, I don't have to work twice as hard to get half as much as a white person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. It is like it's a very insidious way of brainwashing kids.
Right.
But I don't even think it's just parents. Like, to me, it bridges out into society. Like in school, I mean, pretty much everything that I remember learning was sort of like slavery focused. Like the Black history was basically slavery and post-slavery, and everything we're taught was essentially like Martin Luther King, civil rights, post-slavery, you know what I mean? But everything is like surrounding the struggle of being Black. Meanwhile, we learn all the rest of the stuff that is like, science and math, and it's like, but I don't recall learning about Black people doing other things besides trying to overcome slavery.
See, I did. Like in Black History Month, I don't remember what school I was at. This could have been in grade school or whatever. Because we went to the same high school. We went to different grade school and middle schools. But I was taught about like inventors and things like that only during Black History Month.
Only during Black
History Month. If it wasn't Black History Month, yes, it was always about slavery. Like the whole time.
Right. I mean, yeah, Black History Month.
And so I don't really remember a lot of what I learned in that Black History Month. It's just a short time period, and the rest of the year is like, if it's Black history, it's slave stuff.
But that's kind of like, I have a beef with Black History Month, Juneteenth, stuff like this, because it's like, if we're ever going to get to a place where people are on the same playing field and just Americans, and we're not looking at color first, then like, we're not going to do it by constantly, like, it's like every Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard happens to be in the hood. And so it's like, basically everybody knows if you want a Black area, you're going to name the streets Black, then no one's going to ever move there, knowing those are going to be hood places if they're not already,
Right.
Like, it's just, I feel like labeling everything like this is so, like, Black History Month was the only time I really learned in school about anything else Black people did besides try to overcome slavery. And not to mention, even leading up to modern day, you've got the media with all the slave movies, and they're great movies. I love some movies, and they keep you, like, engaged and stuff. But, I mean, putting Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill, it's like, why not Barack Obama? You know what I mean? Why?
You can love or hate Barack Obama.
Right.
But it's like, maybe the first Black president be a better
Right.
fit for a bill. Because usually put presidents on bills and stuff than a slave who escaped and helped other people escape. It's like they want us focused on slavery only.
Right, all the time. All the time. And it's like, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, history is what it is. If you start to sort of change the Aunt Jemima pancakes and Uncle Ben, and you start to sort of rebrand things so we forget the actual racist history, then I feel like it just opens the door for, like, kids to totally be confused about, you know.
Wait, I'm confused now. Are you saying you want Aunt Jemima and all this stuff, or you don't?
I'm going to leave it as it is.
Just you want people to do whatever they want?
Yeah. Like, I think that historical relics and things like that are of historical significance. And they should kind of
if someone wants to use it for a business, they can.
Yeah. Be what it is. You know what I'm saying? Don't shop there if you don't want to shop there. But it's like, because I'm thinking about, like, Harriet Tubman, post-slave and all stuff. It's like, we have enough stuff that came from post-slavery culture that, like, why not make new stuff instead of trying to just, like, keep dragging along all this old stuff? You know what I mean? Rebrand it so we forget the old. It's like, it's still the same company, though. You know what I mean? It's still, it's just like, I don't know. I think that so much of this brainwashing black people, you know, a lot of it from the parents, a lot of it from just older people who have lived through different times. But I think the media, education system, all of it, it's very focused on black people beneath white people.
Yeah. But it does it in a way that they're trying to seem like they're uplifting black people.
Right. But at the end of the day, all it does, to me, all it seems to do is make black people more insecure. So they have to go out and buy a nicer car or get a bit. I literally have an auntie whose husband bought her a Jaguar on layaway or whatever it was. And they ended up getting it repoed because they couldn't afford it. But it's like black people will try so hard to get something that looks a little nicer. You know what I mean? Try to, like, add things to the exterior to make themselves feel whole, and it's like, that's never gonna give them that feeling they're looking for.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the things that the media tells us has just the undertone of black people are inferior, black people are inferior, black people are inferior. You know what I mean? I remember, after the whole George Floyd incident in 2020, the whole Black Lives Matter, posting black squares and all that stuff, it went crazy, right? I remember one of the things white people can do. It's like, take a step back from your platform so black voices can be uplifted and heard. It's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, how pathetic am I if I need a whole race of people, which happen to be the majority in this country, to shut up so I can be heard?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, I must be like nothing.
Right.
I must need white permission to speak so my voice can be heard. I must really be pathetic.
Right.
But I feel like it always has that undertone of, like, you need permission or you need white people to change so then we can exist. You know what I mean? It's just really weird. And it's not like, in reality, you can do whatever you want. There's nothing stopping black people from achieving and doing anything.
Right.
Nothing. But we're taught that there is some metaphorical, like, white fence.
Right.
And we have to, like, ask white people to part so we can get somewhere. It is insane.
It's insane.
And that is racism. And I want to pull up one of those articles, things white people can do.
Those were so...
I mean, I saw those articles a lot last year. I'm like, what?
I had friends who posted on their Instagram stories, like, things white people can do. And, like, the most frustrating thing to me was when I would have a friend who has a mixed child. And so they become the champion of black people. That is, like, the most annoying. Goodness. The most annoying. That, to me, is worse than, like, you know, they talk about Karens and stuff. And it's like, everybody knows people who, like, want, you know, to report to the manager for everything, whatever. But it's like, to me, what's worse is when a person has a black child and then they become a sort of voice of black people. But then they want to tell you as a black person how you're supposed to feel because they have a black child.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And usually those people are not in a relationship with the black person they had a child with. So they just have a whole idea in their mind of, like...
It's usually a woman who's a single mom. Usually.
Yeah. It's just, that's, like, the most frustrating modern day archetype to me. I'm always like, those poor children.
All right. So I have an article pulled up. Have not seen it yet. We're just kind of having a free-flowing conversation. Kind of spur of the moment. But, dear white people, here are 10 actions you can take to promote racial justice in the workplace. And this is on Forbes. You see the rest in power George Floyd. Because that was when the stuff went really crazy. In the summer of 2020, it was insane. Get to know more people of color.
That is so racist.
I mean, I'm not sure.
I'm literally looking for you to befriend you because you're a person of color.
Yes.
I didn't care before, but now socially, because people are getting, prosecuted or whatever. You know what I mean? Because
Right. Not sure what that's going to do for me. If just a bunch of white people seek out being friends with me because I'm black.
He's dark skinned? I want to be friends with him. It's just like, then what? When the culture changes, you're just like, okay, I don't need your friendship anymore. This was interesting.
Call a friend of color this week to discuss the current state of protest and upheaval.
They better not call me.
Join a diversity committee. If there isn't one, start one.
Are you kidding me? So white person is supposed to just start a diversity committee.
And, I mean, that committee is going to be over whatever diversity means to that company. So they're, once again, in the position of power, helping out the little man. You know what I mean? It's just weird.
And then you know what's going to happen?
Weird.
You know what's going to happen? Then they're going to get booted from the committee they started because it's ran by a non-person of color.
Talk to your kids about race. Mentor a person of color. Are you kidding me? So the qualification to be a mentor is just to be white, according to whoever wrote this on Forbes.
This is a very
You know
racist,
what I'm saying? Like, it has the undertone. It has the undertone of, like, if you are white, then you are above black people. And this is coming from the woke revolutionaries. Like, part of their solution to racism is extreme racism.
Right. Like, only talk to this person because they're black. Only mentor them because you're white and they're black.
You don't have to be successful to be a mentor. You don't have to be successful in the field someone wants to also be in.
This is just advice.
To be a mentor. You just have to be white. And the person you're mentoring just has to be black. You know what I mean? Like, that is insane. And I kept seeing articles like this all 2020. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. This must be a joke. You know what I mean? Like, okay, now, to be fair, I did just skim this paragraph, and it does say if you are in a leadership position in your organization. So it's not just white and black. Okay, so that's cool. You know what I mean? It's still racist, but at least it's not just like every white person go mentor a black person. That would be very extreme. This is lesser extreme, but it's still racism. You know what I mean?
There's levels to this.
We all know the critical importance of access to power. So it's basically like saying if you're a white person in a leadership position, then give black people access to your white power.
You can't say you have white power though.
You can't, but they can say it in this art. They can hint at it.
Yeah. What a joke.
Encourage objective selection processes. Like, you've got to be kidding me. That's not what they do.
That's the opposite.
It's the opposite of what they do. Because the part of the selection process is now race. You know what I mean? Like, that's considered. Don't work for companies that aren't diverse. Insist on diversity on leadership teams. Challenge your own stereotypical beliefs. Speak up publicly.
Okay.
So insist on diversity on leadership teams. How about just hire the best people? You know what I mean? Like, why does it have to be of a certain race? Very weird. There's very weird articles and stuff were popping up all 2020.
But, okay, I have a counter argument to that.
Okay.
So, at one level, these tidbits are supposed to be helping people to bridge their sort of racist history, like sort of eliminate some of the old beliefs and stuff. I mean, there are people who are from a different time that, like, are learning how to live in the modern world.
Right.
And there are people who aren't exposed to very much, and so they have beliefs about things and ways of doing things that would be racist. And so this little, 10-step guide is supposed to, like, tell people ways that they can be less racist.
Well, do you think it'll actually help?
Oh, no. I don't think so. I don't think so. Because the problem is, I think that the people, a lot of the stuff modern day that we're hearing is like the people who will hear it are the people who are already, like, doing it and practicing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're in that mind cloud space.
Right. Yeah, some of the things seem more benign, like, sure, go make friends with a bunch of black people or something. This is odd to tell people these things. It's very weird to me.
It's so weird.
Very weird. Like, the qualification for friendship is now skin color. Make sure you have this many, friends of this skin color. And it's very odd to me. Kind of taught that you were lesser than, you had to go through the man, that whole thing that we hashed out. Yeah. Like, that's definitely part of a lot of people's black experience. And, like, that's something you have to overcome because, I mean, that's, to me, kind of like instilling trauma in a kid.
And it really is traumatic. Because then you have this sort of, like, lens, like this filter to where, like, it's very easy to view, oh, I got bad service, that was racism.
Yeah.
Oh, they followed me in the store, that was racism. You know
I
what
actually
I
had
mean?
experiences like that. I got followed in the store before. I'm wearing baggy clothes. I'm like 16. Probably being followed because I'm a teenager alone in a store.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing very baggy clothes.
Yeah.
If I had a store, I might follow a teenager too. It probably had nothing to do with race.
And
you know what
even
I mean?
if it did have to do with race, I mean, a lot of black young people be stealing stuff.
Right. But I mean, a lot of young people steal stuff.
Yeah.
Like kids shoplift, teenagers
Yeah.
shoplift. It's
Yeah.
a thrill kind of thing for teenagers. So it's like, I never thought about when I was a kid, like, oh, do white people get followed in the store too? I'm sure a ton of white teenagers get followed
Right,
too.
a ton.
And I'm sure how you dress affects whether you get
Right.
followed or not.
For sure. 'Cause I
It's
mean,
like you don't think like that when you're taught this whole like the man thing. You think,
Right.
oh, I'm getting followed. It's because I'm black.
Right. And it's not, I mean, it's, even if you're in the store to steal something, it's because I'm black that I'm getting, it's still a racial experience, even though you were in the store to steal something. The whole reason why they follow people around the store is exactly why you're in the store. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
But I mean, even if you weren't, it doesn't matter. Like that's just your
Right.
first assumption.
it is. It
And
is.
it's like you were so convicted about it, no one
It
can
is.
convince you otherwise. But I feel like a lot of the racial beliefs are like that. Like they've been instilled in you so deeply that people cannot convince you otherwise, no matter how much evidence there is.
Right. But I think also because of that, there's kind of this sort of, you're taught to have no accountability.
Right.
Like you're taught, I mean, at the end of the day, you're taught that like, you know, oh, people get in trouble and go to jail and all stuff. But like the undertone is that there's always someone else to blame for.
It's always the man's fault.
It's always the man's fault. The system's against you. Your parents were poor or they were absent because of situations that all date back to slavery, basically.
I mean, that's a good point. The whole you're taught to have no accountability, because that is very just like exemplified in the whole Black Lives Matter thing.
It is.
It's like with every person that you see with all the Black Lives Matter,
All the marches and
whatever
stuff.
you call them, victims, martyrs,
The
I don't know,
martyrs, yeah.
whatever you want to call them. With like all of them, there's a level of accountability they should have. That they could have done things differently and not been in
Right.
that situation.
Right.
No one ever talks about it
No.
at all.
No.
All they want to talk about is, oh, they're victims, it's racism, systemic injustice, and implicit bias, and all these buzzwords.
Right.
But no one talks about, oh, what could they have done differently? And especially if you actually are like interested in helping black people, and this whole black people getting killed by the cops is this huge problem, then why not focus the conversation on what black people could do to avoid that? I mean, if it was as big as a problem as they say it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts. Facts. But, I mean, the problem is a lot of the people that defend all those buzzwords and everything they would never raise their kids to do things that got them in those situations of the people they're defending. So there's literally like a sort of missing connection. And I think that goes back to like black people being so brainwashed that they're not understanding the logical, like sort of common sense, like A plus B equals C, like why things are the way they are.
Right. And when you say black people being brainwashed, you're not talking about 100% of
No.
black people. Just
No.
saying, I mean, it's very odd to vote 90% or near 90% for one
Yeah.
political party for long stretches of time. That I would call that brainwash. Like, it's
Yeah.
odd.
I
There
mean,
should be some diversity within the black community.
There should be.
But that's what Joe Biden said. People said he was being racist. They got mad at him. Remember, he said the black community is not that diverse.
Yeah. Yeah, he said, unlike the Latino community.
Right, the
They're-
black community is not that diverse with notable exceptions or something stupid.
Unlike the Latino community or whatever.
He put his foot all the way in his mouth.
And yeah.
Said the quiet part out loud.
But yeah, I think the hardest part about being black in America is that brainwashing.
Yes.
It is that conditioning of like instead of like when you're a kid and you have all these questions and stuff, you're looking for like, you know, the sort of open-ended sort of like this seems to be all that we know so far. But you're kind of instead being told, memorize this. Like, believe this. The only way you're going to be safe is if you think this way. Protect yourself like this. You know?
But yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. That's definitely the hardest part. Like, basically, that you're taught to be inferior. And like that comes from within the black community and then the woke revolutionary community or whatever, the well-meaning, bleeding heart woke community. It comes from that as well. Because like, until you overcome that, then you basically are working with a brain that's very limited. And you're taught to see the world with certain limits and stuff, and you can only achieve so much without getting permission from so-and-so and so-and-so. So it's like, I don't even know what to call it, but it's like being crippled.
Yeah,
or
it is.
handicapped. And no offense to anyone who's handicapped, you know what I mean? But it limits you.
It's like a mental limitation. And like, guys, this sounds harsh, but the thing is, most Black people that I have ever met are terrified to travel overseas, especially off of a resort. Like, especially to make their own arrangements and figure out the city.
My goodness.
They're
When we
terrified.
have booked some trips overseas, people are like, oh, you're going to wake up in a tub full of ice missing a kidney and like all these kind of things.
Certain.
It was crazy.
Literally, one of my dad's sisters didn't even come to our wedding because she lived in the city and our wedding was out in the county. It's like 30 minutes away.
Yeah, it was in a white area.
It's in a white area. Like, she was literally, and she never said she was so, but it's like everybody kind of knew, oh, she just doesn't leave her neighborhood. But it's like, that, to me, isn't that much different than the Black people who were still slaves in like the 70s or something because they didn't know, like they didn't leave the plantation. They might have even known slavery ended, but they might have thought, how am I going to get along outside by myself? I don't know where to start.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a very reasonable thing to think when you're, you know what I mean? So I definitely think that there's levels to this because there are guides and stuff to like help people overcome racism. It's like, you got to think about it. This trauma stems from like slavery, yes, but it's not like, it's still very much enslaving people. You know, it's just like a new master now is the media and this woke narrative.
Yeah, man, until you overcome the whole inferiority complex that has been instilled so deeply into you, then you are basically mentally handicapped. And don't mean that in some offensive way. I mean like mentally
like you're literally not
limited. Like in sports, you can have a handicap, you know, to make things more even. Like you're mentally limited until you overcome that. But then once you overcome that, it's like, oh, wow. Like, there's actually nothing stopping me but myself. Right. Like, no one's out to get me.
Right. And it's like, yes, there are good and bad people in so many different levels of society, from politics to, you know, your local church to, you know what I mean? That's just how it is, to your job. Like, there will be inevitably people you come across that aren't going to be nice people. Maybe they have it against you. But it's not just race. Like, those people are often crazy.
Right.
Like they're just crazy people.
As long as you're asking someone else or a whole demographic of people, even worse, to change so you can advance or you can do something with your life, then you are mentally limited.
Right.
Like, that's a sign.
But the weirdest thing that I think most Black people are not, like, they're terrified to admit, and maybe it's a thing that's just a lot of people are like this, but it's like they're scared to admit that they're scared. Like, they don't know, like, once you push to the next level, like, they don't know what lies on the other side of that.
Right.
You know, once you take
it's comfortable to be in that limited place.
Right.
That's all you know. And the crazy thing is, I got called racist all 2020 for this. Because these are the kind of things I would post on social media. Like, nothing is stopping Black people from achieving anything. It's like, if you want your life to improve, the only person that has to change is you.
Right.
I would say things like, no white person is stopping you from doing anything. You can do anything. And I get called racist. Yeah. Like, that is insane to me. To me, that is an empowering message. No one is stopping you. You can do anything.
But it's hard to just hear that, but then what you see all around you is people who have stopped themselves their whole lives. So like, there is no like example except for you saying that, but then they resent you because, well, you're a peer and we grew up the same, so they think they still know who you are. And so, you know what I mean? I feel like in that mindset, it's very difficult to see that you're your biggest roadblock.
Right.
You know, and they're definitely not going to quit their job, move to another city, get rid of all their, you know, worldly items and start fresh. Like, they're definitely not going to like take those risks and do those things that really show you that, oh, shoot, you're right. You know what I mean? They have to lose a lot. Like, I feel like you have to lose a lot to like reset your mind if you're that much indoctrinated, or, you know what I mean? If you're that brainwashed, you have to like have a major life event shift your mindset and shake you up out of it.
Is that ever going to happen for most people?
No, because they don't want it. That's the whole, you know, staying on the plantation thing that people talk about but don't want to admit to. It's like they literally don't want to see what it's like off the plantation. All they would have to do, this isn't advice, but if someone is doubting what we're saying right now, all they would have to do is quit their job and start a business. Or even if they don't want to
don't quit your job and start a business on the side. Side hustle.
Start a business on the side. then you're going to see how clientele comes to you, what issues you have from customer service to, product, shipment fulfillment. Like, you're going to
what
learn,
race your customers are.
Yeah,
and do white people say, I'm not going to support that business because it's black? Or do you have plenty of white customers as well? You know what I mean? Like, simple experiment.
Right? It's like literally get a little bit out of the machine to just see how things actually are working. The machine, I feel like the machine being just like, go to school, get your education, get a job, work 40 years, get your retirement, da-da-da-da-da. That whole machine is set up in a certain way to where those racial incidences might just like make it, like they might just be a part of it. They might just seem to just show up. But it's like, soon as you just step outside that machine just a little bit, and you see how it really functions, it's like, oh, that's not a racial incident. That person was having a bad day. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's hard to explain these things though. Because I mean, I feel like I used to think inside of it more so instead of like, from a bigger perspective.
I'm glad you talked for a while. I was getting worked up. When I started talking a mile a minute, I'm getting worked up.
Because I mean, the suckiest part about being black in America is that, like, I feel like we get grouped in as like, we just get grouped in. It's just like everything people see in the media, they think, oh, it must be really hard to be black, and like, oh, it must be really sad, and like things are built against.
It's so like people look at you like you're pathetic.
They do.
Or they think they're being like well-meaning, like, oh, I'm being empathetic. I'm feeling what you feel. Like, it's so cringy.
On the topic of, so like right now, mixed kids is like a huge trend, right? It's a huge, like, a lot of people, sure, people love who they love. I have no problem with interracial dating, all stuff. But when I was an actress in LA, they were saying like the future is like my type of look, like curly hair and tan skin. And I just so happen to have a lot of white friends who are obsessed with having a daughter that look just like me, right? So it's a thing. And anyway, I think that this whole new generation of mixed kids, this is a very interesting time because them growing up with like single moms who are the champions of black people and super woke SJW feminists could be really bad. Because a lot of times a well-meaning girl who wants to raise her black son to have, the best outlook on life actually could set him up to have the most sort of pathetic idea like about himself.
Right.
Because I mean, you already get it from being black, but then to have like a white person who's posting on Facebook, white privilege is like this, and so blah 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 blah. And he, as her child, he knows he's beneath her already.
Yeah, that's gonna be a crazy experience.
I think it's dangerous to play with people's lives like that. Because I think it went from like, oh, genuine curiosity and interest and, whatever, to like, it's a thing to be obsessed with having a black child modern day. It is.
Mm-hmm. Or to go travel to
Africa, Uganda.
Right, and take pictures.
A missionary with a black child. You know what I mean?
It's all very odd.
It's weird because it's like, these are people's lives, though.
Wait, what were you talking about? You said the suckiest thing about being black. The suckiest
thing is being grouped in with black
Okay,
people.
so the like worst thing is the whole inferiority thing,
The worst thing of actually being black, like in the black experience, is
the inferiority complex where you're taught that you're lesser than, but the suckiest thing is being grouped in.
The suckiest thing is that there's a whole narrative of what it is to be black, and people just think, oh, that's what black people are.
But not just the narrative. There's people who live like that.
There is, yeah.
And we're being told that all black people are like that.
Right.
Basically, to be black, you have to be ghetto. My say is not valid because I'm not ghetto. But if you're ghetto, you can speak on behalf of all of black America.
Right. The suckiest thing is that people assume that, like, you're ghetto. And then it's like, oh, I must have a white husband because obviously I don't have a ghetto husband. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and I get where they're coming from.
Because they're just assuming all black people are ghetto. If you're not ghetto, you probably married a white person.
And
I get how someone could think that. It's annoying, but I get it.
And that actually came from French people. Like, from France, French people. So it was like, it's just like the media, I think, is the sort of major player in this one.
Newsflash, not all black people are ghetto. You know what I mean? There's tons and tons and millions of black people who are not ghetto. There's always a certain stereotype. If you don't fit that stereotype, then you can't speak on behalf of being black. Which is super annoying too. Like, how can one person speak for the whole black community? Right. In that case, we should be able to.
Yeah, that shouldn't even exist.
It's ridiculous. Like, you don't really see that with anyone else.
And when you think about it, it's like when you go over to Asia, it's like let one Asian speak on behalf of the whole continent of, you know what I'm saying? Like black is really like so many different, just like there's many
even on behalf of just this country. It's very odd.
It's very odd.
And when do you see a white person on TV like, oh, this is what it's like to be white? You know, I mean, maybe you might see some woke people saying, oh, this is what it's like to have white privilege modern day, but like
that's
other
new.
than right.
It's not like
Like when do you see anybody else saying, oh, this is what it's like for this whole race of people? That's really stupid.
It's dumb. But the weird thing is the only people that I think actually listen to that are, like, most of the people listening to this video are not going to be the people who are believing
woke revolutionaries, basically. So it's not going to be those people.
But it's like it's unfortunate because like those are the people that need to hear it the most.
I hope some of them do listen.
I hope so.
Hey, we make a clickbaity enough title, we might.
Hey, I hope so.
What it's like to be black in America, racism abound. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, because it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, everything we're saying is not, it's just like the thing that people didn't get in 2020. We're not trying to hurt you. Like,
oh my goodness.
At the end of the day, having a good self-esteem and having a healthy sense of reality is beneficial to not only you, but everyone around you. Like, it's going to make your life better. You're going to feel better. You're not going to care about what these people are saying about your car or your shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 2020 was one of the best years of my life because of just the way things played out. It's like we got a lot closer in 2020 and things like that. It was a hard year with the pandemic and everything. We lost our income, had to rebuild it. All that was hard. And then the whole George Floyd stuff, all that created was really annoying. But it was still the best year of my life overall. But it was also the most annoying year of my whole entire life. And it's because of this. It's because of this George Floyd, whatever you call it, ricochet effect, whatever that created.
Statue
was so annoying. It's not even about the statue. You know,
it's not even about the statue.
Not even about the statue, because that happened in 2021. It's just about that whole year and the conversations I had with black friends and white friends. It was the most annoying thing in the world.
Hard.
The most annoying thing in the world. Oh my goodness.
It is so hard to get people to see themselves outside of a victim.
It is.
Outside of, like, to get people to have an ounce of self-esteem and self-worth and sort of self-reliance, you know what I mean? Some sort of, you know, wait a minute, what did you say to me? Let me think about this. Don't just eat it. It's so hard.
I mean, that was the year I learned that, like, whatever I say doesn't matter because I didn't grow up in the trenches. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it's like to be black because I wasn't ghetto. So you're equating black with just basically ghetto and poor. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's like to get a job as a black person because I wasn't ghetto. What? What does black mean to you? Very annoying things. But other things is like I would ask people very basic questions. Like, okay, well, if we're doing this whole burn down America thing to raise awareness for racism and white people are stopping us from succeeding. What are white people doing right now to stop me from achieving anything I want to achieve? And you get, it's systemic. Yeah. And so if you commit a crime, then you're going to get sentenced more than a white person. Like, okay, maybe there are injustices in the criminal justice system or whatever. Maybe black people do get sentenced more. Don't commit crimes.
Right.
You know, I'm just going to not commit a crime so I don't have to deal with that racist justice system. How about that? You know what I mean? That's all they could really say is systemic racism in prison.
Right.
That's about it. They couldn't tell me what white people were doing to stop me from succeeding. They couldn't tell me anything.
And if you catch them up enough on enough of those little sort of mind puzzles, then they get mad. They get emotional. Like they say,
"Oh, well, you're not from the hood. You don't get it. You grew up in a decent neighborhood."
Yeah.
Like, okay, how does that negate being black? There were plenty of black people who grew up in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Then they just get mad and they turn, like, as soon as they turn on the emotions, then they start yelling and stuff. And it's like, you got to choose.
And they start insulting you.
Yeah, they start insulting you. And then you have to decide, do you want to entertain that? Or should you just end the conversation? Then they get what they want because they really just wanted to get out of the conversation. You know, they talk over you or they take up all the airspace all the time. So they, you know what I mean? It's just like so frustrating.
It's so annoying.
It's like, if you really believed that you were absolutely right, wouldn't you, like, really try to convince me and explain that to me? And,
wait.
Get me to
and
agree
then,
with you?
hold up. I gotta say this before I forget. I gotta say, I agree with you, though. If you really think you're right, you should take the time to talk with someone. I agree. But this one thing people keep saying, I just remembered, I don't want to forget it. They keep saying, well, no one looks into it as much as you.
Yeah.
No one researched. No one cares that much. Like, if you'll bring up, when that whole Black Lives Matter page thing was up about the nuclear family, they want to destroy it and all that stuff. And nothing on that page mentioned black men at all. And this whole movement is built on the backs of black men being killed. whether justly or not, whatever, is still built on the backs of black men. Nothing on that page mentioned men and meant to destroying the Western prescribed nuclear family, all that. You bring that up and people go, oh, no one looks into it that deeply. Oh, it's not that serious. It's about raising awareness. No one looks into it that deeply.
Right.
So they can admit that they don't look into anything, don't know what they're talking about,
Right.
but still support the things they support. It is insanity to me.
And
Insane.
Once again, relinquishing that accountability, it's your fault now.
Yes.
Because you did more research to prepare for the conversation. But if you told them in advance you were going to have this conversation, they would have done some research.
But wasn't even doing research to prepare for the conversation. It was just looking
stuff
into
you should
things.
know if you have an opinion.
Right.
Like, you probably shouldn't have an opinion on
I
something
didn't
you
know
don't
this
know
conversation
about.
was going to happen.
Right.
And they just don't look into things.
But
when I say they, I'm talking about the people I was talking to, not saying everyone doesn't look into things, even though it's mostly true. But I'm talking about the people I was talking to.
Hey, look, I feel you, because these days you have to, like, put a sort of
disclaimer on everything. Because people are so sensitive.
People are very sensitive.
So sensitive.
Which is very dangerous, guys. Like, as a country, we need to be less sensitive because, I mean, look around the world. Like, no one is as sensitive as these Western countries, you know? Sensitivities makes you weak. But anyway, yeah, being black in America is an odd experience.
It is. It can be very annoying, but for not what people would think. It's not, white people trying to hold you down that's annoying. No. I mean, I just have not experienced that much of them. Not saying it doesn't exist. I'm sure it does in places, but it's just not as widespread to where, black people can live a whole life and not experience much of that. Right. So that's not the annoying part. Really, the annoying part is dealing with racism from within the black community and the well-meaning woke community of whatever color people want to be in there.
Right. The machine. I feel like
yeah, the woke revolutionary machine. That is so annoying.
The problem with the woke the problem with this whole thing is that I think we actually, like, both sides of this are a lot more similar than they think, but there's levels to this.
Yeah.
So I feel like we all can agree that the government is very corrupt. And these social media, social tech company, whatever, very corrupt. We can all agree that there have been very, disturbing things in the education system. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different layers of society where we agree. But the way they approach it is they take the concept and then go out and make a scene and make a fuss and, you know what I mean? Without figuring out the paper trail that led to XYZ. So then what ends up happening? They get taken advantage of. Right. And they get led into a new master, a new system, a new machine.
That's the thing right there, a new master. It's crazy because it's like this whole woke revolutionary machine steals your family members and friends from you. It's like, these are decent people. They're not hurting people. You know what I mean? They would help you out if you were down. They would feed you. They would house you. Like, just decent people. They're not bad people. But then they get, like, their brain gets, like, co-opted. Like, it doesn't belong to them anymore. They have to share it with the woke revolutionary machine, and then they get turned into a droid and turned against you, and it's just like, oh, another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
Another one bites the dust.
I think,
you know what I mean? It's crazy.
For sure.
It is crazy.
For sure. But I think the machine is stealing wives from their husbands, too. And I think racism is, like, black and white, a huge issue. But I also think it's ripping families apart in so many different ways. It's stealing kids from their parents, Because it's like, I can even think about my personal situation, and it's like, I think I have a relative that's become much more radical over the years, and I definitely think some of her choices and who she is today is all a result of this woke culture. And it is disturbing because it directly affected me, which is going to affect her future. And you know what I mean? It's just like, they're ripping families apart in so many different ways. But if you get so hung up on being black and racism, you won't even see that feminism is ripping your wife from you as a black man. You know what I mean?
Or the welfare state. Or any of that kind of stuff.
All that. And it's like, I think a lot of these things, like, started or at least had some sort of intention of being decent and good for people. But instead of keeping on digging and keeping their eyes open and their ears alert, people just take it at face value, and then they have a new master and they don't even realize it. You know?
Yes.
Like, people to this day will still say, it's the sentiment of Black Lives Matter. That's why we like it. And it's like, you literally have to be kidding me. Like,
oh my goodness.
It's like everybody agrees with the sentiment. Duh.
Yes.
Like, I shouldn't have to explain that to you.
And you should also agree with the sentiment that all lives matter.
Yeah. Right. But
it's the sentiment. Like, people's lives matter.
But I think people are so, like, that's the problem with the sort of, like, people running with the wokeness is, like, they think the sentiment is all. Like, they think it's that many levels deep.
But that's the same as people who read the headline and think they know the news.
Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they don't go to the next level, and they don't realize that the people saying all lives matter are not saying that black lives don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, they don't dig through the next level and realize that, like, everything's out of context, everything's out of whack. They're ripping your family from you in front of your eyes.
But the people who say Black Lives Matter are asking for preferential treatment for black people and zero accountability.
Which they would realize if they dug deeper.
Right.
But they're not even conscious enough to realize that.
Like, even really the people who are like, oh, I agree with the sentiment. Like, with some of the like shootings and stuff, they're supporting the riots for. It's like, you're asking for preferential treatment. Because if a white person did that same thing and got shot, we'd be like, oh, it was justified. You know what I mean?
Right.
So even if you don't look that deeply into it, everyone goes and watches the video after something like that happens, and they still support the riots and all this kind of stuff. And still think the cops should be brought to justice when, like, dude, this was justified. Like, dude's getting chased with a knife and things like that. You know what I mean? Or girls about to stab someone with a knife.
Right. That's what I was thinking about.
That one. I mean, I remember one in Philly. It's like a dude had a knife and he was chasing the cop and stuff. It's like crazy stuff happens where it's just clearly justified. And other stuff is like, okay, it's kind of, I could see how someone would think it's not justified. When you look at the law and stuff, it's like, oh, he was authorized to use his force for this situation. But it's not as clear. And I get it. People don't look into the law or anything like that. So I could kind of get those a little bit. But then once you explain the law and stuff, like, oh, what's justified? The people are still like, no, we need justice. I'm like,
right. But it's like, the problem with that is, okay, so they'll lean back onto police abusing the authority, sort of, you know, they'll lean into like the dirty criminal sort of money on the back end stuff that cops do. And they'll justify how they're, you know, supporting someone's actions even though the person was wrong because they don't trust cops and cops are dirty and this and that. But it's like, it's almost like, I think of this like woke mindset as like a little baby that like pooped on itself, it's hungry and it needs a nap all at the same time. And you're like, okay, let's address getting you some food first so you survive. You know, and then they're like, yeah, but I have to take a nap and I was like, they're just like, you know what I mean? And it's like, you literally have to do one thing at a time. Like, you can literally sit there and whine and cry and be upset for an hour, or we can start making progress one thing at a time. You know what I mean? We're not saying you're not going to get taken care of. You know what I mean? We're not saying all your things are just going to be there forever. We're saying baby steps. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. Yes.
So yeah, being black in America.
It's something else, but not for the reasons people think. And I mean, we just kind of freestyled it here. We had some things we want to talk about. But I think this is a good place to wrap it up. We've been going for over an hour, right?
Yeah.
We've been going for quite a while. I don't know how long it'll be once you edit it, but yeah, I mean, things we had planned to talk about was also black privilege. We didn't even make it that far into our bullet points of things to talk about. We want to talk about single-parent households.
In black neighborhoods.
We want to talk about the whole growing up with black people music versus white people music and, you know, the things you get called if you listen to wrong music, all that kind of stuff.
Style and fashion and beauty standards. We had a lot to talk about.
Holiday dinners, all that kind of stuff. We didn't quite make it that far, but it's okay. I mean, this is definitely going to be a series. So we're going to talk about more. If there's anything else you want us to talk about with the black experience, let us know in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, we appreciate you. Share this video with anyone who you think would like to see it or anyone who you think would need to see it, more importantly. Definitely. And I apologize for talking so fast. Hopefully you guys can understand me, but sometimes, you know, I get kind of passionate, get kind of worked up, and it's just like, you know, I want to get it all out. You know what I mean? I want to get it all out. Just get worked up sometimes. But hopefully.
We've been waiting to do something like this.
Yes.
All our lives. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Oh, 2020. I mean, I was going to explode. I needed an outlet for this because On My Family and Friends apparently was not the right place. You know what I mean?
They were like, oh.
But yes, we appreciate you guys watching this and supporting our channel.
We do. Thank you guys. Make sure you like the video. And until next time, that's a wrap.
I don't know. Tell me, man, what do you know? Me and my boys on the road. You to go. She told me, boy, you to go. Like, I don't know. But I don't know.